Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to another monthly Night Live.
Yes, it is now our monthly live stream. We got rid of those weeklies because we were really, really bad at them. It had nothing to do with any of you. We were just really bad at it. So we are now doing a monthly live stream, and we are so thrilled to see so many of you here already, so many of you chiming in to tell us what state you're coming from. We've got such a cool variety tonight. Some of you are already asking some questions and making some very thoughtful comments. I'm looking at you, Marcia. We will go back and start to grab those as the night progresses, but tonight is just an ask us anything, and maybe we'll ask you something and you can answer in the comments, but feel free if you just have a burning question that you just want to know, like what's in your cup tonight, Abby. I will gladly tell you it's a cheap drink.
Oh, we got to go into a little bit more detail.
I will go into more detail. Yes, it's a very cheap drink that I tried to plus up, and I'm not sure I did.
Why don't you just go into that detail now?
Should I just go? Okay. Yeah. So I went to the grocery store last night, and I picked up. Actually, I'll just grab it because I have it over here.
You've seen them.
Yeah.
You've probably not tried them, but you've seen them.
So this is what I picked up at the grocery store last night. I got one for Jason and one for me. I just felt like we were back in Mississippi, and I just wanted a hurricane of the drink kind. And so I thought as I opened it, you know what, like 5%, that's kind of lame. I'm going to dump some vodka into this and plus it up. And I did. But I didn't read that it's a wine product, so
right, because they can sell it. That's why how they're able to sell it.
I didn't think about that at the grocery store. I just saw it and
you put vodka in it.
I did. So I did a solid 4 count for each of us. It's just okay. Someone just said it's a liquid sugar drink.
Yep.
It is.
Yep.
It's not very good. I mean, I'm going to drink it.
It tastes like Kool-Aid.
Yeah. I know. I'm surprised you don't like it more.
I love it.
Oh, okay.
What are you talking about?
You might end up drinking mine then, and I might just go get a beer.
Pour it on in.
They're not. So Eric is asking if they're still $1. They have gone up in price. They were 2 for $4. So I don't know. I don't have any experience with this brand. I probably won't after this either. Who knows?
Speaking of prices, it's going to take me a minute to circle back around to that. But speaking of prices.
Okay.
So today for me has been about reconstructing our bed.
Yeah.
Our bed.
I think you need to give some context to that, please. Thank you. Like, just
our bed is the frame for our RV bed, our wonderful RV bed. It's made out of 1x2s, and if you don't know anything about wood, 1x2s is like the smallest piece of lumber that you can buy. Like, it is not meant to hold anybody's body up, let alone the extra heavy mattress that we replaced the mattress that came with it with. Plus, we put in pneumatic lifts to lift the bed up so we could put stuff under the bed. And those put so much pressure on it. And the whole thing was just stapled together. No glue, anything like that. So, over time, our bed has totally destroyed itself. And last night, it got real bad. So, last night, I had to sleep in Henry's bed. So my day today has been about reconstructing our bed out of much thicker material using glue and screws and I'm like 6 screws short, so after we're done here I have to go back to a Lowe's and get some more screws. But when I said, speaking of prices, the wood, oh my gosh, the cost of a 2x4 right now. Right, so I used to do a lot of like theater set construction. If you've been following us for a while, you know that. And a 2x4 5-6 years ago used to be under $2. Like $1.95 you could get a 2x4.
Sure.
They're like
Are they like two for?
They're
Were they like 2 for 2?
They're like $7 right now.
How much did you spend to
Wood
build this bed?
is really expensive. I had spent $75.
Oh my!
Not on wood.
gosh.
Not on wood, but
I can't. Ugh.
so
right.
that's my story about the price of lumber and our broken bed.
Yeah, so that's what we've been up to today on a Monday here in Mississippi. I want to go and point out, someone said that, just to go back to this drink for a minute, somebody said that these are supposed to be frozen. That is absolutely correct. This was in my freezer for 24 hours and it never froze.
Mine's frozen.
So I'm just drinking. Look,
How's yours not frozen? Mine's
it's
frozen.
not frozen.
Mine's frozen.
I don't know. I don't know. It's like liquid Kool-Aid.
Mine's great.
Yeah, so you can drink mine. So let's go and let's grab some questions while we've got them popping up before things get so far I can't keep up with them. Eric would like to know that he really loves the truck. Thank you, Eric. And he's curious what the next rig is going to be behind that new Tremor. We are so very close to having that all wrapped up.
We're not going to tell anybody until we actually pick it up, though.
No.
So it's going to be, we're about to sign on the dotted line for a new RV. It's ordered, so it's going to have to be built. So we're going to have to wait for it to be built.
Yeah. I have, like, I'm one who just fully believes in, like, not announcing a thing until I'm holding the thing, because there's nothing worse than trying to walk
plus,
something
we
back.
want to be able to show you it when we announce it.
Well, yeah.
So
I mean,
it's probably going to be sometime in May.
Maybe probably June. Most likely.
Maybe June.
Yeah, probably June. But we're really excited about it. Sorry, I moved that because
I keep moving back. See that light? That light that's up there? I don't like that, so I do that.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to talk to the people, and it's a far reach.
So there's another question about the truck. Somebody had a question on how we're liking the new truck. I gotta say, we have been having some issues with towing.
Yeah. It's not been all rainbows and sunshine with the new truck.
We have been having some sway issues, and I was actually hoping, moving to this truck, and I talked about this a little bit. Was it on the last live stream we did, which was not our monthly night live? We did like a surprise one.
Yeah, because when Texas was really showing us its colors.
We're getting a lot more sway than we did with the Ram. We actually got no sway with the Ram ever. Never had a problem. Doing a lot of stuff, adjusting the weight distribution hitch and figuring stuff out. And what it comes down to, we think, hearing from a lot of people that have the same truck, is that the Wrangler Duratrack tires are causing quite a bit of it, especially up at 80 psi. So I've dropped the tire pressure down, I've lowered the hitch a little bit, and we towed with it the other day, and it seemed better, but we never got up to real highway speed because we only traveled 50 miles. So we're not certain.
It's my kind of travel day.
We're not certain yet if it solved it. So
yeah,
we'll see.
It's been really stressful. It's been the complete opposite, actually, of what we thought it was going to be. And I appreciate Jason for everything that he's been trying to do to solve the problem, to make it more comfortable for us and make it more less anxiety inducing for me, because it's just not enjoyable to know that every time a car comes by you on the left, you feel it. And nothing to the point where we're unsafe or we're a danger being on the road. If that was the case, we wouldn't be on the road. But, it still kind of messes with your head a little bit, especially on those long drive days. And, we're in a campground now where we've got a space of time. We're here for a little bit, but our next travel day coming up is going to take us a decent amount. And I'd really like to not spend it the whole time just kind of fretting about, the comfort of the ride inside, but then also what's happening to our trailer behind. I had grabbed a question.
The other thing is that the tires will just sort of break in over time as well, and that's a big part of it. Is that the thing has 1,500 miles on it. So
yeah, it's first world problems, and we'll get it figured out. So let's grab a question though. BB wants to know. He says, in your podcast you mentioned waxing your rig before beach camping. If a person has solar panels on the roof, can they get car wax on them?
I don't know the
I don't
exact
use-
answer to that, but I don't see why not. It
Oh, really? I was
doesn't.
gonna say no. Don't do it.
Oh no, I don't see why. Especially we're talking about the car wash spray wax stuff. I don't see why that would be a problem, and in fact, it might be a good thing to do to them. I'm not sure, but obviously check with the manufacturer. I think that's probably the smartest thing to do. You're gonna go ahead and give me the
I'm
other
not.
daiquiri.
Oh
You're
God,
just
I
done
did
with
that
it.
again. I
Stop
can't stop
moving it.
touching. I'm just sorry. I can't stop touching this computer. I'm not. I'm done with that drink. It feels just like I just took sugar and just shoved it in my mouth. So. It's the reason why it's $2. So Susan wants to know, they're in Massachusetts. What can you tell me about BLM lands here in the East?
There really isn't much.
There,
if any. We've spent zero time in the Northeast.
Yeah, I mean, we can't. Maybe some people here watching tonight can jump in with your experience.
But BLM land is pretty much all out west.
Yeah.
I think there's like national forest land and stuff in the East, but as far as like public land boondocking, it's real limited compared to the West, and especially BLM. Something like, I think, like the state of Nevada, 90% of the land, and that's not an exaggeration. It might be wrong, but it's somewhere around there.
Like a really high number.
Is like BLM and other federal land. So a lot of states like that, there's just tons and tons of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit out there, but, that's kind of the one thing that we've been warned about or shared with us as we begin to look to what we hope is next year to travel the Northeast. That's the trajectory I have us on right now, because in addition to trying to plan out all of 2021 camping, I'm already trying to plan out all of 2022, which is, I continue to be blown away by how difficult booking camping is right now. I mean, we're going on year 5 that we have been on the road, and I've never seen it like this before.
Especially weekends. It's really about weekends.
Yeah, and we're not really doing anything different in regards to the places that we're going to. There's not much that's shifted for us in 5 years. We continue to really remain loyal to our federal and state parks. That's just what we prefer, and then we'll get a private here and there if we have to. But it's just really been quite amazing how many people are camping, and there's, that's a double-edged sword. It's really lovely to see so many people embracing a lifestyle that obviously we love so much, and then yet at the same time to already be thinking about where are we going to be in March of 2022 is just not something I've ever had to do. So, it'll be interesting when I really start looking at the Northeast what I do find.
Just started full-time life. I just shook it, sorry. The Wi-Fi at the campground we were at is spotty. The internet setup. What internet setup do you recommend?
Do not the campgrounds.
We've probably been to 4 or 5 campgrounds over our life on the road that have had good enough Wi-Fi. We have learned so much over the years. Hi, Henry. From our friends at the Mobile Internet Resource Center. So if you go to rvmobileinternet.com, they have so much free information out there, but really the biggest thing we've learned from them and from our time on the road is really it's about options. It's about having.
We have the computer.
It's about having.
Henry's here for his 5 minutes. Daddy
it's about having different networks available to you. So we carry with us Verizon and AT&T, and we're also going to be picking up the FMCA Sprint hotspot. So FMCA is the Family Motor Coach Association, and the membership, we're big fans of them. It's a nonprofit RV club, and it's $79 a year to be members, and they have a internet plan that's Sprint, which is the smallest network, but what we have found a lot is in a lot of these rural areas where AT&T and Verizon aren't, Sprint has said, okay, we're going to go into there. So our friends that we've traveled quite a bit with have Sprint, and they've had so much luck with it. So we're going to be adding on that plan, $50 a month, unlimited. We have an AT&T unlimited hotspot that is no longer available, but we've been grandfathered in and we keep that. We if One option is there's an AT&T business plan that I think is like $100 a month and it gives you 200 gigabytes. And then Visible, which is Verizon's budget carrier, is an option. You can hotspot to a Visible phone and get unlimited, but it's only it's the speed is limited. So we have an article that goes through all of that on the website that we'll add it to the comments when we're done with this here.
Yeah, I think it's probably time to update it, but there's definitely...
I went back through it and I don't think I have any new recommendations based on what's in it. I think it's still the same.
Never mind. I didn't write it, so...
Yeah.
So that's fine. All right, let's go to another one. Max wants to know, do you now or have you ever had an on-demand tankless water heater?
No, when we started out RVing, there are lots of issues with those a couple years ago. They were just starting to put them into RVs, and you could go to like a Camping World store, and there would be a bunch of them on the clearance rack in the back that had been returned. Because they were not working very well for people. Technology has improved quite a bit, and I highly recommend. Haven't used one ourselves, but have talked to so many people that really love their Truma AquaGo, which is kind of the best of both worlds because it's an on-demand water heater, but then it also has like a little 2-liter tank inside it, so you can get that hot water instantly. Because part of the problem with on-demand hot water heaters, people get up in arms when you say hot water heater because why do you need to heat it if it's already hot? On-demand water heaters, part of the problem is that you need to have a certain flow rate for them to work. So you end up using more water. You end up wasting more water sometimes because you can't just, turn on the water a little bit. You have to turn it on full bore to get that hot water sometimes. So sometimes when you're running off your tanks, that can be an issue. And I think the Truma AquaGo, it kind of solves that and is the best of both worlds.
So somebody who's been around for a minute had this comment to say about you building out the new bed. John, of course. I mean, I'm already thinking...
The new bed weighs about 4 pounds more than the old bed.
Right,
I just
and who
built
knows?
it right.
Who knows? That could just be the 4 pounds that, I'm just going to have to feed my family all the food before we leave here, and I'm not going to buy anything until we get to the next campground. That's always like how I feel like I've done myself a service with, and for anyone who's wondering what I'm talking about, I am constantly worried about the weight in this trailer. We're maxed at, I think it's 8,900 is our limit. And so, I'm always just trying to be really mindful. So anytime we bring something in here, anytime we add a new piece of equipment, anytime we do anything, I'm thinking about what are the 50 other things I can get out of here in order to offset that. So, John, yes, this is very true. Someone wants to know, are you guys concerned with the price increase on everything affecting the way you travel? We haven't personally seen any type of price increase that is above and beyond what we saw last year. Obviously, lumber, that's surprising, and a lot of you are jumping in.
But campgrounds don't seem to be going up yet. But
no.
I will say, I think we've heard from a few people. We don't do a lot of monthly rates, but we've heard from a few people at a few places that monthly rates have been going up at places because there are so many campers now, and the campgrounds really make their money on nightly rentals.
Yeah.
Monthly rentals are just kind of a way to help get them through, and they're usually steeply discounted. So we're hearing that there's a little bit less of those type of discounts happening.
Yeah. But I would say if, food costs, fuel costs, just cost of living in general, nothing seems to be extravagant to me,
different than if we lived in a house.
Yeah, I don't think. Obviously, at our house, the cost of food is going up at a rate that I cannot keep up with. Henry, our 7-year-old, who weighs...
he's the real problem, not the teenager.
Yeah, who weighs, maybe if this kid is lucky, 40 pounds, just ate an entire pizza on his own for dinner tonight. I mean, I don't even know what to do with that. Like, the kid just ate basically like a medium pizza all on his own. So,
I want to say.
oh, I had another question before we lose it.
Okay.
Somebody asked about what mattress we own.
Yes.
Can you just...
yeah, let's just answer that quick.
Yeah.
It's the Wilderness RV mattress. We're very, very happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we got it for somewhere around $650. It has been absolutely fantastic. For the boys, what we ended up doing there, though, is buying memory foam twin mattresses, and then, or just memory foam in general, and just cutting that down to fit the size of each one of their bunks, because their mattresses in their rooms are so unique, that the size is so unique that we just couldn't find anything at an affordable price range. So we just cut that down and laid it on top of those completely useless teddy bear mattresses that they put in there that literally just feel like the child is sleeping on cardboard.
So Eric, I saw that video. Yeah, material costs are going up for RV manufacturers. Plus the fact that there's limited availability, it's definitely making prices rise. And frankly, I'm surprised they haven't gone up higher.
A few people have asked us about the National Park app and if we have any thoughts on it.
You know what? We haven't even downloaded it yet.
We have it, and it's actually on our to-do list of videos that we want to make. We've started to try and, again, our YouTube channel and just the videos we put out in general are always evolving and changing, and we have some ideas for things that we'd like to do in the future. And so we do have that down as a pretty soon, like, we'd really like to take a look at it and have an opinion on it, because we've been asked about it, and frankly, if it's anything in the ballpark of what the other national park apps have been like, I don't have a lot of hopes, because they've been pretty awful.
It's supposed to be a lot better. A lot of people have said that it's decent. It's pretty good. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I would really like them to have something decent. So we will take a look at that very, very soon, and then share what our thoughts on it are. This is obviously one we have a lot of experience with. We've used that a few times recently.
I've actually totally redid the seam on our slide, like on the... I don't know how to explain this. On the slide box, on the outside wall, the top, it's sort of like an L shape like this, right? So this is the outside wall of the RV. Mm-hmm. This is the roof of the slide. And the seam tape that they had on there was only on this surface. And it was getting water underneath it, and it was there was actually bubbles of water I could press down on that seam tape. And it's a Turnabond tape that they use. So I went back over it with the Turnabond, but it did it like a roof flashing. So I did it down this side and across one piece so that water couldn't get under there. And I've used a Turnabond a lot for like taping down the random wire up there when I've installed like Wi-Fi equipment, taping up a nick in the rubber roof. I use that. Most of the time, though, you're going to want to use lap sealant, self-leveling lap sealant for most of the seams on your roof.
I just had to show this because this just sounds really awful. I'm sorry, Daniel, that happened to you guys. On the first long trip to Colorado, our bed collapsed in the middle of the night. The first night, brand new RV, had to buy lumber and saw to repair in Cortez before driving to Ouray, places we are very familiar with. That sounds awful. Just awful. I'm very sorry that happened to you.
I'm always saying that I think the manufacturers spend too much time thinking about converting dinettes and couches into beds.
Well, if anyone's watched Going RV, then that's all we're concerned with.
But hey, maybe they're just worried about, if your bed collapses, you have a place to stay.
Yeah. Because you know what? Last night, I almost was like, oh, we'll just convert the dinette into a bed, and Henry and I will sleep on it. Jason can sleep in Henry's bed. And I was like, no, I'm going to take my chances with the broken bed, because sleeping on this dinette is miserable. It's an absolutely miserable experience.
I thought it was comfy.
You thought it was comfy? Well, you and I weigh different.
Little guy.
We weigh different pounds, and so because we weigh different pounds, the cushions act a little bit different. Justine wants to know who won the Blizzard War. Well, it wasn't Snickers.
We did a post on
I don't
on the
understand,
Our
people.
Wandering Family Facebook page asking people what their favorite
Reese's.
Blizzard flavor is.
Yes!
Reese's was the answer, which
Yes.
is
Reese's was
my favorite.
Yes, Reese's was
Reese's-
a huge winner.
Reese's peanut butter cups, not Reese's Pieces, which
No,
are
and I-
nearly as good, but prefer the cups.
No, so you all right there? See?
Yeah.
See? You can't
I
even
get
you can't
suicided.
even get that sentence out because you know it's wrong. Snickers did not win. That should have been the obvious winner, with Heath coming in a very close second. It ended up
Heath is so good too.
oh, so good. It ended up being Reese's, and I think Oreo snuck in there for second place.
Oreo's pretty good too.
That'll make no sense. Does not make no sense.
Why do you think they got rid of Snickers? For
My
a while?
brother's here tonight. Always a delight when my brother shows up to point out the
That's
flaws.
his real last name.
Yes,
Legit.
that was his nickname as a child. That's what we called him.
What was his name?
Uncle Justin. So someone wants to know what brings you to Mississippi.
Just driving around,
Just hanging out. Nothing.
staying in warm places until
Texas.
winter disappears up north.
Texas brought us to Mississippi. Actually, no, we had plans to go west this year into California and up into the Pacific Northwest. And then everything that's going on with this fifth wheel that we're working on, we're going to need to be in the Midwest to pick it up. So we had to change directions. So that's what's going on. Let's see. Let me see if I can find. Hi, Henry. Why don't you say hi to everyone?
Yeah, we're on real comments still.
Yeah, we're like,
Hi.
sorry, I'm going. Why don't you guys talk? Did you help Daddy today? Yeah.
Oh, this is a good point.
Okay.
Your brother mentions.
Oh, don't show anything he's saying.
No, he has an excellent point about waxing the panels, the solar panels that I didn't think of, is that wax is a UV blocker, and that's part of the benefit of it, and that is going to reduce the effectiveness of your solar panels. Very good, very astute point, Justin.
Excellent. He is good for some things. So Christy wants to know that she just signed up for Harvest Host after seeing your notice earlier this week. What is your favorite thing about Harvest Host? What are your tips and tricks for Harvest Host?
The thing
newbies.
about Harvest Hosts that you have to get out of your head is that it just being a place for free overnight parking. If you want to have a good time with it, it's really about the experiences and finding these really, really cool places. Like some of these Harvest hosts really do, like, you can go to a vineyard and stomp the grapes, and they take you on tours and stuff like that. It's really about those experiences. That's sort of the best.
I mean,
reason to use it.
I would always pick a brewery before I pick a vineyard. That's just
Or distillery.
Distillery, something like that. But if for anyone that's wondering also what she's talking about, Harvest Hosts just announced that they're raising prices again this year. It's going up to $99 a year for the membership. Right now it's at $79, and RV Miles has a discount code for that. So if you choose to use it, we'll drop it in the comments here later, or you can just go over to our latest podcast episode on YouTube. That gets you 50% off, and I think it knocks it down to $67.15 if you buy before April 1st, and then that gets locked in for life as long as you keep your membership active. If it's something you've been thinking about, this would be the time to do it. And if you haven't been thinking about it, that's fine too. You don't have to think about it. This is a great comment here, or actually another question. Douglas just found our podcast, which is awesome. We're so glad to have you joining us on the podcast. And he wants to know what our average stay is per spot. Just from what I've listened to, you guys seem like moving around once or twice a week. I know you said you're going back into the archives to listen, and I think you will find that in our early days of travel, we did not move. We were pretty consistent with like 1 to 2 week stays. Most state parks and federal parks, the limit is 14 nights.
We'll usually we'll take whatever we can get. We like to stay at federal parks, and we'll take what we can get, usually whatever the longest stay we can get as. It all comes down to our planning. So if we have planned in enough time to get a spot, we'll take 14 days, and we prefer to stay anywhere we are for 2 weeks. But life gets in the way, and we end up not being able to stay in places as long as we'd like to sometimes. So sometimes we move a little bit faster, but slower is definitely better for us.
Yeah. Right now we're here for almost 2 weeks, and it's amazing how quickly you get settled, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's time to go again. I'm doing my best to try and grab all of these questions. Henry, everyone says hi to you.
Hi.
So Brian wants to know, with my concerns about the trailer weight, have you ever gone to a weigh station to actually weigh the rig?
We just did recently.
We did,
and we were fine. We're underweight. We're getting in close.
Yeah, I mean, I knew we were close. I've always known we were close. Yes, it's been a long requested that we do that, and I've been asking for it for almost 2 years. How's your movie? I thought you were watching Spider-Man.
It's some we
It's a mix.
I used to get the bus weighed several times when I was building it, because when we built our bus conversion, it had to be under 26,000 pounds, for legal reasons, for driver's license reasons, to not need a what they call a non-commercial Class B in Illinois. So I did that several times in the bus at the CAT scales at truck stops, and it's really not a big deal, and it's much better now with the app. We just did it with the app for the first time with the trailer, and that was super convenient because it shows you right away what it is, and it costs like $14 to do. It's a little pricey to just drive across the thing, but
So, Kate wants to know, is there another option for Wi-Fi other than a Wi-Fi Ranger that comes pre-installed on some RVs?
yeah, the pre-installed stuff is generally not the greatest. It's usually a ploy to get you to sign up for a data plan through somebody, and or even if it's like pre-wired for something and you add it on. So yes, there are lots of options out there, and you do not need to use that antenna. And in fact, there are probably better antennas that you can get. Again, I say rvmobileinternet.com and learn from those folks. But you don't have to have your Wi-Fi or cellular antenna, I guess, is really what we're talking about, because it's cell data that we're using. And then there's Wi-Fi Rangers that can also pick up campground Wi-Fi and stuff. And when they say they can pick up Wi-Fi signals from 2-mile radius, we used to have a Wi-Fi Ranger, and we could be in a Walmart parking lot, and then there's a McDonald's and a Starbucks and all sorts of businesses, and they all have Wi-Fi, and we could rarely get decent Wi-Fi through any of them through the Wi-Fi Ranger. So don't listen to that idea that you can just like pick up businesses Wi-Fi's from wherever. It just doesn't work like that. And it does kind of help to have a Wi-Fi extender at campgrounds with weakish Wi-Fi, but doesn't improve. It only improves the signal. It doesn't improve their bandwidth. So cellular antennas for your cell router, for your hotspots and stuff, they don't need to be on the roof. They can, and you can get a little bit better signal doing that, but they really don't need to be on the roof. And you can just buy devices to have inside your RV.
Someone asked us further up in the comments if we had seen Nomadland. We have not.
I want to see Abby.
I don't know why I'm being weird about it. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be. I don't know. I don't know why I'm being weird about it. Like, that I don't want to watch it. I think I said to you the other day, like, I don't want to watch it, I live it. And I don't know why I feel that way. Like, that's such a...
I want to watch it, I live it. Like,
I know,
that's the whole reason I want to watch it.
That's such a silly thing to say. And I do this sometimes, and I'll fully admit it. I don't understand why. But when something gets really, really popular or everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is the thing, I have to watch it.
Yeah, we watch it like 2 years later, and we're like, oh, I
Yeah,
got it now.
I watch it like 2 years later. I don't watch it. I'm like, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna watch it because
I love.
and that's, I don't know why I do that. And yet the flip to that is I was like, oh my gosh, we gotta watch WandaVision.
Well, I love Frances McDormand, so I'm excited to see it. And I'll probably watch it. I'll actually probably watch it here in the next day or two because I want to write a review of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess also it's just really hard to devote that kind of time to something. We very rarely get to watch movies. It always feels like whenever I give my time to something like that, in the back of my head, I'm constantly thinking, you should be doing this, or you should be doing that, or you have this to do, I don't stop to relax. So, and listen, okay, I'm gonna grab this. So John is saying it's a bit of a Debbie Downer. I feel that.
Well, yeah,
vibe.
I mean, I know that. I know that.
I don't want Debbie to get me down.
But you watch all your like British dramas and stuff. How is that not doing that?
What are you? Look, listen, okay. Doctor Who.
I'm not talking
about
Doctor Who.
Okay, Broadchurch is a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
Okay, like that was a real tough one, but I went through it because I absolutely love David Tennant. I'm gonna watch anything he's in. But my period, my Austen British period pieces, the biggest thing that happens to those people.
We've talked about this for too long.
Right. Who am I going to marry in order? Can I marry for love or money? That's like the biggest question. Like these other ones, I just don't want to be Debbie Downed. Like I don't.
I like those things.
I know you, and you should. You know what? You should totally watch it.
I will.
And then you can give me the cliff notes on it.
Okay.
Okay. Fantastic.
Then I'll watch it a second time when you'll be like,
no, I'm probably not going to watch it. I'm just going to probably just leave it to you, and then we can watch The Repair Shop instead. So we talked a little bit about this, but this has come up, quite a few questions continue to come up about this.
Yeah, and
it's harder.
It's not just that the sales are increasing. And to be honest, did the sales increase that much? I mean, yes, and they are continuing, by the way. It has not slowed down by any means. RV dealerships have had a fantastic January and February. Like, really fantastic. Way better than anything last year. Last year was a good year for RV sales, but they were hampered by inventory issues because RVs couldn't be built for a little bit. There was backlogs with parts that are still around. The real thing that is causing more people at campgrounds is... What's so funny?
I'm listening. I'm reading some of the responses to my TV viewing.
The real thing that's causing people more issues with booking campgrounds is that everybody that owns an RV is camping more than they were before. The average night stay, stay for most people has doubled. The average number of nights camped in the course of the year has doubled. People are staying longer, and the RV rentals are just out of this world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that going on right now.
So I'm reading everything that... It's so great to see so many of you have watched this movie, and thank you for sharing with me your thoughts on it, because, again, it helps me to not have to watch it. But I'll tell you what, I share the same last name with this guy, and so if my mom and dad sat down and they were like, we can't even with Nomadland, it's just too sad. If Dave Treview's telling me it's too sad, and then I'm out. Okay? I have to be out. If my dad says it's too sad, I gotta listen to my dad.
That's true.
This is very true. You should always listen to your parents. They know a whole lot more than you do. There was another question in here that I wanted to grab. Someone asked as a newbie, to go back to Harvest Host for a second, if we thought it would be a good investment. They have zero experience with RVing. We've been asked this question a few times since this article came out and this video came out about the price increase. And I really think the best answer I can give when it comes to how you spend your money or how you camp is that I don't know what kind of camper you are.
Well,
and No, and I don't mean that like I'm not going to tell you, but like, the thing about Harvest Hosts is that you have to be, fully self-contained. There's no hookups. You are expected to spend a little bit of money at that establishment that you're staying at. And so maybe, the idea of camping overnight and not having any hookups or something that doesn't set well with you, or
Well, what I was going to say is you don't know what kind of RVer you are yet either. So
that too.
you want
Absolutely.
to figure some of that out before. There are so many. We talked about this on the podcast this week. There are so many memberships now, monthly fees, things that you're expected to buy. Your software as a service type stuff like Harvest Host, and you certainly don't need them all. You certainly don't need all the campground memberships and stuff out there. And so it really comes down to like booking your travel plans. And if you say, okay, this seems like a good spot to try a Harvest Host location during this stretch of travel, then that's the time to do it. And
yeah, I mean, it's also about that it's one night. So, if you're going to want to be the kind of traveler that maybe to feel like you're getting your money's worth, that you're moving a lot in your travels, or you really just want to stay put, more than you're traveling, then I think that's important to take into consideration as well. But
we like to stop and visit an area for a week or 2 weeks and really explore it. It's really hard for us to go one place for one night and do stuff in that area.
Well, I think part of our issue, though, and it might be different for others, is that the kids factor a lot into that. It's not easy for us to just get to a place and then run off and go explore for the whole day and then get up the next morning and leave. I mean, there are... and also, I think working from the road really influences that a lot, too. There are the day-to-day responsibilities that are, we are responsible for. And so, that makes it really hard to get to one place and be like, we want to go do all the things, but we are leaving tomorrow morning. But you touched a little bit on talking about memberships and that there's a lot of memberships out there. And this is a conversation that Jason and I have been having a lot, and we're still fleshing out our thoughts on it. But this is a tough one for especially the new RVers coming into this, because it's very easy to become so overwhelmed by all of the memberships that are out there. And in some ways, these RV memberships are starting to look a lot to me like my frustration that I have with all of the streaming services. You can't have this one thing unless you have this streaming service. Well, you can't do this thing unless you have this streaming service. And that just continues to pile and pile and pile. And so it becomes a little bit of a puzzle piece. You might sign up for Harvest Hosts 1 year and decide that it's not for you. And then maybe you go and you try Boondockers Welcome, and maybe, or that might feel like a better fit, or you do Escapees or FMCA, or I mean, there's so much, and that's just something we've been talking a lot about, like how big can the bubble get?
Can you recommend someone or a product to take off the bug shield that came on an RV and then she added, or a product? If you're talking about the if this was like one of those sticker bug shields, so often on the front of like a motorhome they'll put like it's basically a giant clear sticker that protects the paint job. If that's what it is, what I'd recommend trying is a hairdryer to warm it up, and you warm that glue up underneath it, and then you should be able to peel it off. That's the first thing I would try. And if you can get it off like that, then you'll have a glue residue left over, and then I would use Goo Gone, which is just mainly it's citrus oil. I would use Goo Gone to take off the residue. Goo Gone's not going to take off the sticker itself, though. You got to get the sticker part off first.
This is a really fascinating question, and It'll be interesting to see what we come up with here. In the time you've been on the road, how have you changed since you were in a house? Are you more calm? More adventurous? Better shape? Would your friends and family say you've changed? I don't know that I'm more calm. I think
You're not.
I think that in some ways, since we started this journey, I'm definitely in better shape. So
I'm not.
since we got on the road, I've lost somewhere around 45 pounds. So I think
I weigh like to the pound. My weight has not changed. Like it's always the same. Anyway.
Anywho, that's a story for another
I
day.
will say I think I'm more adventurous.
Yes.
I think I've definitely. I mean, there was a time period there in Chicago where I would go months without leaving a 3-block radius. My work, the grocery store, my apartment were all
And that
on
was
the same block.
before we were
And
married.
I wouldn't
before
leave that.
Yeah.
And we were in a routine once we got married and stuff. And we didn't travel a ton. I think my friends and family would say I've changed some, for sure. I think a lot of that has more to do with what we do for a living now, and not the RV
Yeah.
part. Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that we
I mean, we've made
talk
it.
to people. Like, I'm a super introvert.
Yeah, yeah. There's a reason why he does the majority. He's the least introverted of the two of us, so this is why he does the majority of the videos that we put out.
And I'm a super introvert.
And he's a super introvert, which is funny because obviously we both have theater backgrounds, and I worked as an actor and he worked as a designer and a producer, so we worked in businesses where we were very much on constantly, but I was on as all, it was different. I was a different person. It didn't have to be me, I could be somebody else. It was make-believe, it was pretend. I would say this question has really stumped me. I'm not quite sure what my friends and family would say. It's hard for me to know how much of the world I live in has been, influenced who I've become, or if age has kind of done that to me. I actually think I'm much calmer than I used to be. I fret about different things now, but I don't think
You are.
I don't think
yes.
I argue as hard as I used to have my point of view be like the dominating
Does it? But
point of view.
yeah, but do some of these things have anything to do with us living in an RV?
No,
Probably
I don't
not.
know how much of that is just with age. I mean,
Yeah.
you just kind of chill out a little bit as you get older. But I would say the thing that has probably people would say the biggest change about us is our career path. That, when we got on the road, the bulk of our income, what we did for a living, was run a theater industry publication that focused on Chicago theater and then branched out into the Kansas City market. And we had plans to take that on a nationwide scale. That's what the bulk of our time, RV Miles, the podcast, all of that was like secondary. Like, maybe we'll give this a try and see how it goes. But it's Perform Inc. It's our life in theater that holds the cards. And we have, in the last probably year, part of that due to the pandemic and what has been a devastating year for the theater community. But also part of it is because we have changed. We have changed as individuals on the road and how we experience life, that we decided that it was time for us to officially say that we don't work in theater anymore. That was weird.
Yeah, and I mean that industry it's dead at the moment. It'll come back, but
It's not dead.
at the moment, I mean,
they're finding other ways to express themselves, but it's just
Yeah,
not
but-
what it was. It's just a different.
And the
It's a
RV
different
industry
beast.
is in a boom. So we were very fortunate to have one foot in each industry, and when one had an issue, the other one was booming. But I think I have learned a lot about people and about regions and about the different sort of like micro cultures across the United States in our
Yeah.
travels. It's really wild to go through communities that have suffered, and to really like see the change, whether it was a hurricane or like going to like the Oklahoma City bombing memorial, or yeah, every now and then we'll just be driving through a town like Aztec, New Mexico, for instance, where we'll start seeing like the words Aztec strong everywhere, and then you realize this is a town that went through a school shooting,
Yeah.
and that's happened several times. It's you see a heck of a lot more about how the same we are. Living in Chicago, you could
Well, you
you
could.
get there's a lot of like, oh, those stupid people from that state, and a lot of people are, those stupid Californians, and whatever it is, there are lots of people that have issues with people in other states for
We have
whatever reason.
city pride.
And every state and every locale is just full of all sorts of different people. My eyes were so opened living for the time we did in North Dakota. I we in Chicago there were lots of cab drivers from Africa, right? Lots of them. And we were in Fargo, North Dakota, and I ran into a cab driver that was from Africa. I had nurses in the hospital in Minot, North Dakota, that were from all over the world. And so we think of a lot of those communities as like super white, and I don't know. I just sort of it makes you realize that even if a community is overwhelmingly one thing or another, that there is still an element of every community in those areas. And I think that's something that I've really learned a lot from.
Yeah. So yes, that question really got us. You can totally tell that it's not something we've given a lot of thought to, but clearly we have been changed a little bit by our time on the road. But we've also experienced some things on the road that are not unique to this lifestyle. And Jason alluding to our time in North Dakota, where he had underwent 3 brain surgeries. And had an infection. Those things are not common. We hope they're never common to anyone's life. So there have been some things in our lives that have, also influenced our trajectory. We will grab a more RV focus, but thank you for asking us. Thank you for encouraging us to think about ourselves and how we, interact in this world that we live in. That was a really fantastic. All these have been great questions, but that one got me a little bit here. Are most of the national and state parks only by reservation now? Yes.
And sometimes a lot of them are going to a system where even if they have availability, you still have to go
Yes.
on the website or call the national number and reserve. A
Yeah.
lot of them have no ability to sell you a campsite when you arrive.
Some of that was brought on because of the pandemic in an attempt to encourage social distancing and interactions with people. And I think that has just sort of extended itself as we continue to move through this pandemic and hopefully start to get onto the other side of it.
It was a real problem for a little while there, because a lot of them you could only, once you got into like a 2-day window of arriving, you couldn't book online. And that was back when all of the federal campgrounds were on Reserve America, and now they use a different system for recreation.gov. And now you can pretty much book all of them up to the minute. Like, you could pull up to the campground and find the site online. and book it right away for the most part. Now, a lot of them can lock you out of doing that, but it's much better now. But yeah, for the most part, it's all online or calling recreation.gov now.
Yeah. No, JSB Customs total introverts. I mean, even to the point sometimes where I say to Jason, like, I'm gonna go into the bedroom and I need 15 minutes, 20 minutes to just stare at my phone, and I need nobody to talk to me. Like, it's not that I don't love you, it's not that I don't want to spend time with you guys, but time alone for myself is recharge time. I just need to be alone sometimes.
Look, doing what we're doing right now, being able to like go through this list and pick and choose questions that you've asked and choose the ones that we want to answer, like that is way more appealing to me than actually having a conversation with somebody.
Than having someone interview us and not having any idea what they're going to ask us. Yes, absolutely. Someone wants to know, when boondocking, how secure do you feel most of the time? Do you take extra precautions? The great thing about having a home on wheels when it comes to boondocking is if you ever get anywhere that you do not feel comfortable, you hook that thing back up, you turn that key, and you leave. You know,
we have never felt a whole lot of concern for personal safety in boondocking locations that we have gone to.
But we also don't, I think when we seek out boondocking locations, we vet them pretty hard.
Yeah.
We read reviews of other people who've been there. We look for, well, I won't necessarily say we're looking to be so far remote into the woods that we can't see another trailer for out, we'd have to drive, miles and miles before we get to the nearest person or town. That's not really what we look for when we're boondocking. It's just, I think, I don't know.
You're away, when you're away from a larger population, you're away from some of the crime. And crime can happen in campgrounds. Certainly, it happens all the time. We did have an issue. Our generator was stolen
while
we were overnighting.
It doesn't even count as boondocking. We were in a Cabela's.
No, it was a Cabela's parking lot.
Somebody stole our generator in a Cabela's parking lot.
Frankly, I think you're more likely to have your generator stolen off the back of your trailer in a Cabela's parking lot than you are in the woods somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Amen to that, for sure. We have another question. Frank wants to know, how do you fund your journeys? I would say, how do we fund life? Well, if you go to rvmiles.com, you'll start to get a little bit of an idea. But in a nutshell, I'll see if I can really quickly say some of the things we do. We produce 3 weekly podcasts, RV Miles, America's National Parks, and the See America podcasts. Those usually come out on the weekends unless we're behind, and most of the time we are. We have a YouTube channel where we also put out videos talking about the RV and camping industry. We have our website. We work with advertisers. We are freelance writers. In fact, both Jason and I have some writing assignments right now that we need to get to.
Rick's watching. I'm working on it, Rick.
He's working on it.
And none of those things, for us, I know there are some people that make their entire living off of YouTube, but none of those things fund our life entirely. We're very fortunate to be doing what we're doing, but it's a hustle. I mean, we're doing lots of stuff.
We need every single one of those things in order to go, not even to fund our journey, but just to provide for our kids. We still live I think if we were living in a sticks and bricks, we would still be living on a budget. We would still, we would be doing the same things that, every middle-class American is doing in order to put food on the table and clothes on, their kids and, provide for themselves. So we are always striving to find things that we can create and better our business. And, we're always looking to, everything that we do is always with the intention that we hope it will outlive us. Like, I never want all of this to just be about Jason and Abby. I need it to outlive us.
One of the beauties about doing this is that as your income changes, you can change the way you
Oh
travel
yeah, for sure.
to make it more affordable. So you can get those monthly stays. Sometimes those monthly stays can be really affordable. Sometimes they're
Yep.
really expensive depending on where you are. But you can get some affordable monthly stays. You cannot drive as much, so you save on fuel, that sort of stuff.
And
If you're in a slump, that can, and we went through a period there where it was real rough.
it was really rough. Our first couple of years on the road were a lot of a lot of how do we have enough fuel to get to the next place, and that's not a negative towards what we were doing. We would have had those same struggles if we had just stayed in one place. But there's a reason why in the 5 years we've been on the road, you haven't seen us yet do all of California and the Pacific Northwest. You haven't seen us head for the Northeast. There's a reason for that. We have had to recognize in our own travels and in our own limitations with what we can afford and how we can do that. So it's been a slow burn, and I'm very proud of the fact that we didn't give up on it. We talked a lot about possibly, but we would always get one more sign to don't give up, to keep going. And we have been very blessed to have people who believed in us very early on. People like LL Bean, who believed in us so very early on when we were this teeny tiny new little America's National Parks podcast. And they believed in us, and they have stuck with us for 2.5 years now. We've had this beautiful working relationship with them. We've been very fortunate in that respect, but it is a hustle every day, and it's a hustle that we are really, really thankful that we are able to do. Let's see here. Do you try to avoid toll roads and their outrageous charges when you travel? Yeah.
Especially if they're outrageous. I mean, if the toll road isn't bad, and it's going to save us time, I'll take it. But very often,
Oklahoma?
Well, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't avoid them, and there's just nothing you can do about it. I mean, you can avoid them, but it's going to take you an additional 3 hours to get there. Well, what's the point?
When I added up the amount of money we spent on those Oklahoma tolls, because it was the path of least resistance and we didn't have a choice, we had to do it, I was just furious. I was like, these aren't even nice roads. I was like there's a giant pothole. What did I just give you $15 for? I mean, I know, and we've complained about this before, and I know everybody shares with me why I shouldn't.
But sometimes the toll roads are to take you around a city, as opposed to going straight through it. There's a lot of that in Dallas, that in Chicago. In Chicago, a lot of people, they'll take 294 and go around Chicago. I prefer to just shoot up right through it. I feel like the toll roads are just as busy. It takes more time to travel them. Sure. Even though it's stop and go traffic through the city, I prefer stop and go traffic in an RV to going through Dallas at 80 miles an hour with everybody in a pickup truck at the same time in 14 lanes.
Oh, I can't. Let's not talk about Dallas. I can't handle talking about Dallas. So Douglas wants to know, so after 5 years on the road and having so many adventures, do you guys think you'll ever go back to a residential home?
Maybe. It's not in the plans right now, but we do feel a little bit about, the kids getting older and that sort of stuff. And
pish-posh. I think more actually, I think what sits on my heart is that, in 4 to 5 years, perhaps Jack might want to go to college. He might, and perhaps he might want to do a community college, or, he might want to go to a 4-year, or he might want a gap year, or, maybe he wants to go learn a trade. Who knows? His world is his to create. But if he does, around that time, decide that that is something he wants to do, I don't know that I could drop him off somewhere And then, I know, could you imagine?
So you're talking about like doing the opposite of like.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
know.
I feel like, again, it's so situational, but for me, like when I did a community college first before I then moved to Chicago and moved away from my family and finished my musical theater career, my degree. But for the first couple of years, I did a community college and I lived at home, and that's what I did, and I think you did something similar, and. Yeah. I wonder if he would like to do that. Would I be selfish in saying, "Oh no, we're tomorrow. Sorry, you got class at 8 a.m. tomorrow, but it's a travel day for me." So, I don't know. I think that's the only thing.
An apartment. I mean.
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing I think about is when they're early college years, and this is me being like, will they need their mom?
I like living minimalistically.
Oh, for sure. I have no need for a house.
I've really come to enjoy that. So
yeah.
If we lived in a house, if we got a house, I would want something, small.
I want to live in a tiny house, just like a little square.
I wouldn't mind a large piece of land.
Well, it depends on who's going to care for it.
I wouldn't mind a large workshop space or something like that. But
you could have your own repair shop.
Yeah.
And then you could just you could just what's his name that we were watching the other night who just sat in his man cave drinking whiskey. And it was like a 12-hour feed.
Oh, well, what's his name from Community?
He's married to Megan Mullally. Oh no, I can't remember his name. Anyway, he did that show with Amy Poehler where they
What's
had
his name?
I don't know. Hopefully somebody knows and they'll jump in and say
it's the guy from Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Anyway, he's got those fire log videos that you can put on at Christmas time. He's got one where he sits for 10 hours next to a fire just drinking whiskey.
Yeah. He legit sits there for 10 hours. It's not on a loop.
Somebody's going to pop in one.
He sits there. If you can remember his name, please. Nick Offerman!
Yeah,
there it is. Thank you, John. Yes. You could be like an RVer's Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
We should just make a video where you just sit by the campfire. And we'll get you a bottle of whiskey. You can get some Suntory.
No, do the same thing.
Yes, and every once in a while I'll come by and put another log on for you.
Yeah, I don't think I could drink whiskey for 10 hours straight.
I don't know that.
You'd
probably be down on the ground by the end of the day. Let's see here. Let's see if we can. I haven't read this one, but they did put question in all caps, so it caught my eye. I have a Winnebago Trend 23D 25 foot, and I would like more ground clearance. Do you recommend Airbag 5000 and Sumo Springs, or one better than the other?
We don't know about any of those things, Ivan.
Annie, I'm so sorry.
We don't know about any of those things.
We have not raised anything.
But I would say, I will say, here's what I would say. I would recommend probably getting a lift kit over airbags. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. A lift kit probably would, help solve your problems. Now, I don't know exactly what the ground clearance issues are like. What the ground clearance ends up being about lowest common denominator, right? Do you have running rails that could be removed, stuff like that? Or could you go up to bigger wheels, bigger tires? That's one way that you can get some more ground. You can get you go up 2 inches on your wheels and on your tires if you can do it, and you've gained a few inches right there in ground clearance itself. So that's a possibility.
Solved. He can go live with Nana.
Yeah, go. Jack will go stay with Nana.
Okay, you know what, Mom? You got him. He can go to Longview Community College.
I think he's old enough to. I think he should be.
Mama's steps.
I think he should now be you can go there and spend 3 months now.
Yeah, you know what?
Summers with
Nana.
Nana.
When does Nana boot camp? When does that start? I don't know if Tammy and Ed are here, but at any time, grandparents, you want an extended time with the children, you just let me know. I have a home on wheels. we can come to you and drop them off.
Bradley, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
That means a lot to us.
It blows us away anytime anyone's like, here's some money for doing a live. Like, this is, we never ask it. We don't expect it. We think it's incredibly kind of you to give.
If you're on Facebook, by the way, you can't do it on Facebook. You can only do it on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. But to give your hard-earned money to what we're doing here tonight,
I
very
always
kind.
forget to say that. A lot of people don't realize we're on Facebook. We're
We
live
everywhere.
We're live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time right now. So if you're seeing comments that aren't in the comments, that's why.
Yes. So thank you very much, Bradley. That's really incredibly kind of you. Our good friend Joy would like to know if the boys like boondocking.
When we do it in a cool location.
Yeah, they have a
Yes.
song that they made up with their friends, the family that we traveled with last year, and it would be like boondocking, boondocking, and they would get, if we were all going to be boondocking together, they'd get really, really excited. And then sometimes they're like, why have you taken me to this godforsaken forest where we can't even get a cell signal, and
Usually-
how am I supposed to watch my YouTube?
We don't usually boondock to save money. That's
No,
the,
it ends up being more expensive sometimes, I feel
well,
like.
that's the reason a lot of people do it. But normally when we go boondocking, it's to be in a really cool boondocking location. And
Yeah.
the ones that like to play outdoors like that. The ones that like to be on the
The ones
internet
that like to play in the web.
don't like that.
Yes. This is very, very true. This is another great question. In 3 years of owning a travel trailer, I have practically become an RV repair tech due to the cost and trust of dealers. How comfortable are you to do repairs? Well, we said at the beginning, Jason is currently rebuilding our bed.
There's part of buying a sort of a budget model travel trailer.
And that's what we bought. We bought an entry level.
We did, knowing that I would have the ability to fix most issues that would arrive. And I wouldn't recommend doing that if you don't have the ability to do that. I've come across one thing that has stumped me the entire time that we've been doing this. We had to have a repair tech come and look at our furnace.
Yes.
And it ended up being the thing I thought it was from the beginning, and it could have changed easily. But anyway.
And it was worth every dollar. And you know, it's a really, if it's, you know, there's a lot of people actually we've seen recently who are going into that trade to be an RV repair tech. It's a great time to do it if it's something that you have been considering. And it was worth every penny to have him come and take care of that, because we needed heat. But it was also at the same time really frustrating because we'd only had our trailer for about 10 months. And we were already, you know, faced with that kind of a repair.
Part of the issue, too, is, like, it's just not easy or convenient or really possible for us to just go take the RV into a shop.
No, I mean, that's the other thing about living full-time is...
So there are a few things that we would have liked to have somebody look at in a shop, but not really convenient to do, so we've sort of dealt with stuff on our own.
I think it's worth saying, though, too, that prior to having, you know, this, for anyone who's new to us and new to RV Miles or our wandering family, prior to moving here into our trailer, we were in a converted school bus. And that's how we spent almost the first 3 years of our life on the road. We converted this school bus on our own as a family. We bought a 2002 Thomas school bus. We gutted that whole thing and we built a house for ourselves inside of it. And when I say we built a house for ourselves, I truly mean Jason built a house for his family that we could travel in and that we could grow as a family in. And so I have always felt very comfortable in this lifestyle when it comes to if something goes wrong, because I have Jason and I know that there's nothing Jason can't do. And I don't mean that like, oh, you know, Captain America over here, but I just mean that Jason is Captain America at our house because he's willing to read all the things and watch all the videos, and I'm not. So he will always figure out, and if he can't, then he does what he does and he calls in a repair tech, because he will only take it so far until he says, I can't do this safely for my family. I need somebody else who can. So owning an RV really does kind of, help you learn quickly whether or not you are a repairer or someone who needs to call someone to repair.
Yeah, and even if you're not somebody who has done lots of repair type stuff, a lot of people can do that. I mean, YouTube is a phenomenal resource, and that's part of why we like being on YouTube, is that we can sort of give back to that, because we've learned so much. I mean, I built our bus based off watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, I just have to jump in here because it's really overwhelming me that 3 of you now have jumped in. Ivan and Josie, that is so kind, and blessings back to you. Christy, it's always such a pleasure whenever we get a chance to talk to you, and I'm glad that you could find some introverted time with us. And JSB Customs, like, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to me, and I just want you all to know that we very much appreciate that, and we know that everyone works very, very hard for every single dollar that they put into their bank, and so you sharing those dollars with us is just incredibly kind. So thank you for being here tonight. I think probably at this point we're rolling into an hour and 20.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised Jack hasn't shown up, because I told him he had to stay off the internet for just 1 hour and then he could get back on. So I'm really surprised he hasn't opened his bedroom door and given me a look. Because I'm sure he would like to go back to what he was doing.
We do have a question.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ivan and Josie. I'm not sure who we're talking to, if not both, but we're traveling this summer from Maryland to Washington State. We can't stop in every national park, but which 1 or 2 do you recommend?
Oh my gosh.
We highly recommend the Black Hills area.
Badlands is such a special place.
If you go to the Black Hills, you can go to Minuteman Missile Site, Badlands National Park, Mount Rushmore, Wind Cave National Park, Jewel Cave National Park, and then Custer State Park, which ought to be a national park on its own. Custer is really the crown jewel of that area, I think, with Badlands. So I think you really ought to stop in the Black Hills.
I would throw out there, I don't know exactly what your path is to get from Maryland to Washington, but we have some friends who have done Yellowstone,
Mom,
who have...
I heard you say it has been an hour.
Yes,
and 15
did you
minutes.
hear me say that?
It's been an hour and 15 minutes.
It has, I'm surprised.
So I was begging Jack to go over.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Henry is not an introvert, in case anyone was wondering. But we have heard Glacier is an incredibly...
we have yet to
we
be
have not
able
made
to
it,
go to Glacier.
but we have heard that it is just one of those places that, as much as I think we loved Yellowstone, people say that it, to them it is even more spectacular than Yellowstone. So,
if you get the chance, some of the areas along the Mississippi River, in between, like northern.
gosh, if they could go up to Voyagers,
if you could go up to Voyagers National Park, which is all the way up at the border, but along the Mississippi River, between like northern Illinois and Iowa, up towards Minneapolis, that whole path along the Great River Road is really some of the best scenery the Midwest has to offer, and it's often really overlooked.
But you know what? There's no bad stop.
We find cool stuff everywhere.
Yeah, and honestly, when it comes to the National Park Service, some of our best memories, some of our best experiences have happened in some of the smaller parks. Like if you go through Iowa and you can just stop for an afternoon, if your path takes you through Gila National Monument?
In Iowa?
Or not, I'm sorry, Effigy Mounds. Effigy Mounds National Monument in Iowa. If your path takes you through there, it really is, and we don't normally say this, but it really is a park that you could just stop for the afternoon and you would be able, it's very small, you would be able to fully take it in. If you can stop, it is just one of the most special places.
It's Native American burial mounds that are shaped in different animals It's really interesting, but then also has some just of the spectacular views of the Mississippi River Valley.
Yeah, and it looks like a couple people are jumping in here to share their suggestions, which I love, 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 when others also give some inputs. So whatever you do, you're going to have a beautiful time, I'm sure. It's a gorgeous part of the country. What am I doing? What are you...
Where did
It's up here.
Never mind. I lost it.
Okay. So I think that means it's time for us to wrap this up. We're an hour and 25 minutes into it.
I gotta finish this bed so we can sleep on it.
Yeah, you actually have to make a run back to Home Depot. So I would like to not have to sleep on this dinette tonight. So we need to get Jason, unfortunately, back to construction work. So thank you to all of you who joined us tonight. It's been such a joy. Like I wish that I could say we could do this weekly, but I feel like the monthlies have become very, very special because we just get this one little opportunity every month to spend some time with you.
We'll still do some more live streams, like just sort of random ones when like a special like piece of news or something that we want to talk about comes up that involves discussion elements. We'll do some of those mid-month, but we really like doing this. It's a great time to spend with all of you and to be able to get feedback and talk to you and all that.
And I can't let us go without saying thank you to Michael for also...
Thank you, Michael.
And you know what? Have a really, really great time with your new RV and your first test run. We hope your bed does not break. That's what we hope. So, all right. If you have any further questions for us, you can always drop them into the comments. Of course, one of the best ways to find Jason and I and to continue these discussions in the virtual world is in the RV Miles Facebook group. It's a really, really small, 6,000 small, if you want to call that small, group of individuals, and they're all incredibly nice people, and Jason and I try to be pretty active in there as well. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you next month. Of course, we look forward to seeing you across social media as our podcasts come out every week. But until then, just thank you all so much for spending your night with us, and we send you our very, very best from a very humid and buggy Mississippi.
See you next time.
Good night. See you soon.